Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Welcome back to our midweek program, and welcome to the second part of our brand new series, The Great Devotees of the Lord. Taking inspiration from our previous series on the 12 Mahajans, this series is aimed to cover all the personalities we feel deserve that extra bit of recognition and attention in our process of getting more knowledge in our spiritual lives. Last week, we had His Grace Sachipran Gaurahari Prabhu enlighten us on Akrura, and this week, we're very honored to have Her Grace Preethi VIlasini Mathaji, someone we love very much here in Atlanta, and someone who always is ready to speak so wonderfully for us, and we're always very grateful to her for that. And she'll be covering the most loved mother of Sri Krishna, Mother Yashoda. Just a bit of a background on Mathaji. Mathaji joined the movement in around 2009 and is a disciple of His Holiness Radhanath Swami, who she received initiation from in 2015. Mathaji is a beloved member of the congregation across the country, but is especially loved here in Atlanta. And we're very grateful to her today to once again be here and giving us her association. Without further ado, Preethi VIlasini Mathaji, if you are ready, please go ahead. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Karthik Prabhu. And thank you, Sadanand Ramachandra Prabhu, for this opportunity, and Adi Gadadhar Prabhu as well for this very wonderful forum and this great opportunity to be a part of Atlanta Sangha. It's always an honor to be amidst the wonderful devotees, the esteemed devotees of Atlanta, who are very, very close to my heart. Thank you all so much. So the topic given to me is very interesting. It's about Mother Yashoda, such a wonderful, wonderful personality. Before I start, I would definitely say I'm not going to do any justice to this topic because it's so intense, it's so vast, and it is so beautiful, dripping with prem. So it's very hard to do any sort of justice to such a wonderful personality. But I will try to introduce a drop in this ocean. So let's see how it goes. But I pray unto all the Vaishnavas on the call to bless me so that I may speak a few words. We'll start with the prayers. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Mukam karoti vacharam pangum langayate girim yat kripatam ham vande Shri Gurum Deenatarinam. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschayata Deshtharine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna. So let's start off with a very beautiful verse from the Bhagavatam. So this verse is from Canto 10, Chapter 8, verse number 45. It goes like this. Trayachopanishad bischa sankhya yogaischa sattvataihi upagiyamana mahatmyam harim samanyamatmajam. The glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are studied through the three Vedas, the Upanishads, the literature of Sankhya Yoga, and other Vaishnava literature. Yet, Mother Yashoda considered that Supreme Person her ordinary son. It's a very beautiful verse, and Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he considers this verse to be the Paribhasha Sutra for the entire Krishna Leela. So we all know the Paribhasha Sutra for the Srimad Bhagavatam is Etecham Sakala Purushaha Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. That is very popularly known. Everyone knows that. But then what is the Paribhasha Sutra for Krishna Leela alone? So Vishwanath Chakravarti points out it is this verse that is the Paribhasha Sutra for the Krishna Leela. And what is a Paribhasha Sutra? So just like how if there is a lamp that is lit in a dark place, the entire room gets lit up. The light spreads through the entire room. Similarly, the meaning of all the scriptures, or the meaning of that entire portion of the scripture, is actually revealed through the eyes of the Paribhasha Sutra. So the Paribhasha Sutra actually gives light to the entire Leela. So Krishna, he displays in his pastimes a lot of sweetness. At the same time, he also displays some Aishwarya, meaning majesty, like when he kills demons and he does some superhuman activities. So at that time, automatically, when you see Krishna, the people around him are somehow enticed to think that he's God, right? So he describes some sort of an Aishwarya. So whenever Krishna describes all these different pastimes, be it Madhurya or Aishwarya or anything, this one verse is like a regulator verse for all this Leela. So what is the verse? It says, the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are studied through the three Vedas, the Upanishads, the literature of Sankhya Yoga, and other Vaishnava literature. Yet, Mother Yashoda considered that Supreme Person her ordinary child. So this Paribhasha Sutra of Krishna Leela in the Srimad Bhagavatam is dedicated to describe the glory and the spontaneous devotion of this one personality, Mother Yashoda. And today we will try to understand a little bit about her, a little bit of the affection that she had for Krishna. Because every sadhaka, as we advanced, we are told that we should progress in devotional service and eventually, naturally, over a period of time, develop Raganuga Bhakti. And this Raganuga Bhakti is nothing but following in the footsteps of Ragatmika Bhaktas. So Yashoda is one such Ragatmika Bhakta who is a great inspiration for many, many devotees. And there is another verse in the Damodar Leela that describes the absorption that Yashoda had when she serves Krishna. So this would be the verse that we would meditate on while we are listening to this entire section. And here is the verse. This is Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 9, verse number 3. Dressed in a yellow saffron sari with a belt tied about her full hips, Mother Yashoda pulled on the churning robe, laboring considerably, her bangles and earrings moving and vibrating, and her whole body shaking. Because of her intense love for her child, her breasts were wet with milk. Her face, with its very beautiful eyebrows, was wet with perspiration, and malati flowers were falling from her hair. So this is a beautiful verse from the 10th canto, chapter 9, verse number 3. And you know what Prabhupada says about this verse? Prabhupada writes in the purport, anyone who desires to be Krishna conscious in a motherly affection or parental affection should desire to become like Yashoda. Okay? It is not that, let me read it again. Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport, anyone who desires to be Krishna conscious in motherly affection or parental affection should contemplate on the bodily features of Mother Yashoda. It is not that one should desire to become Yashoda or become like Yashoda, for this is Mayavad. Either in parental affection or conjugal love or friendship or servitorship, in any way, we must follow in the footsteps of the inhabitants of Vrindavan and not try to become just like them. Therefore, this description is provided here. Advanced devotees must cherish this description, always thinking of Mother Yashoda's features, how she was dressed, how she was working and perspiring, how beautifully the flowers were arranged in her hair, and so on. One should take advantage of the full description provided here by thinking of Mother Yashoda in maternal affection for Krishna. So this is Srila Prabhupada's words, and it's his purport to this beautiful, beautiful verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam that describes Mother Yashoda's features and her beauty and her absorption while she was serving Krishna. So we'll try to listen to Krishna Leela, which is always very, very enlivening to the heart, following in the footsteps of Mother Yashoda. So the Vrishni dynasty is described in many of the Puranas. In several Puranas, you hear about this great dynasty of the Vrishnis. In that dynasty, there appeared a crest jewel of all the kings by the name Devameda. So this Devameda, he was an abode of great virtue, and he was very well respected, and he was a very righteous king, and he lived in Mathura. Devameda had two wives. One of the wives was a Kshatriya wife, and the other was a Vaishya. So from both these wives, he had sons. The son from the Kshatriya wife was named Shura or Shurasena, and the son from the Vaishya wife was named Parjanya. So it is mentioned in the Smriti Shastras like the Manu Smriti that if the mother is a Vaishya and the father is a Kshatriya, then the child adopts the occupation of the mother, which is Vaishya. So therefore, Parjanya, who was born of a Vaishya mother, took up the occupation of a Vaishya. And Shura or Shurasena, he took up the occupation of a Kshatriya. So Parjanya became a Vaishya, accepting his mother's caste, and he settled in Mahavan or Brihadvan. So this name must be familiar with all of you. It is the place where Krishna eventually is going to perform his pastimes. So from childhood, this Parjanya, he worshipped the Brahmanas and he took care of all his subjects very, very nicely. He became the king of all the Vaishyas, and throughout his life, not only was he very religious, at the same time, he was also a great worshipper of Lord Hari. So he took care of the entire Vaishya community, and he became the crest jewel of the entire Vaishya community. Now, Parjanya, he had many sons headed by Upananda. He had 5 sons actually. So the middle of these 5 sons was named Nanda. Now, this Nanda became the most glorious of the 5 sons of Parjanya. Just like how when we decorate ourselves, wearing beautiful ornaments is the most important part of the decoration, meaning wearing beautiful garments is the most important part of our decoration. Like that, the most important personality in that among the 5 sons was actually this particular middle son by the name Nanda. And this Nanda had wonderful, wonderful qualities, wonderful qualities. Everybody loved him, and he also loved everyone. It's not that he gave his affection just to his family members or his close friends. He very generously gave his affection to everyone, and he did it very nicely because there were no rivals for his affection. Sometimes we all like to have many friends, we like to have many people we like, we give our affection to many people, but we can't really do justice to everyone. There is automatically 2 or 3 people who are rivaling with each other to get our affection, right? But Nanda, he was so intelligent, and he was so capable of taking care of everyone around him that nobody even rivaled for his affection. So that was the virtue of Nanda Maharaj. So everyone grew up, the 5 sons grew up, and eventually it was the time for the marriage of the 5 sons, especially the middle son, Nanda, whom we are going to focus on. In that village, there was a Gopa by the name Sumukha, and he had a beautiful daughter by the name Yashoda. So this daughter, she enticed the hearts of everyone. Even people who heard about her would be so amazed to hear about her wonderful qualities. What to speak of people who actually got to see her. So this wonderful lady by the name Yashoda married Nanda, and she gave complete happiness not only to her parents and her relatives, but she gave happiness to everyone around her. So this was a perfect couple, Nanda and Yashoda. They were just made for each other. And as time passed, Parjanya, who's the father of Upananda, Nanda, and the other brothers, he desired to make his elder son, Upananda, the king of the Vaishyas in Mahavan, the king of his community, because Parjanya wanted to hand over all his responsibilities to Upananda. But then at that time, Upananda, he called for an assembly of everyone, not only the Vaishyas, he also invited Shurasena and others, Gargamuni, everybody was invited. So he invited everyone, and in that assembly, he told his father and he told everyone that he did not want to become the king. He said, "Look at this assembly. Everyone's eyes is only on Nanda. Nanda is the best among the five of us, and he is, in fact, the Tilaka of our entire family. He is the only one who's qualified to be the king because everyone loves him so much and he loves everyone so much. Only such a person can really do justice being the king." So, and he told that it's not that I'm just speaking this out of speculation or I just took this decision independently. But however, I know for sure that even the Supreme Lord Narayan also desires this. So he looked at his father Parjanya and he asked permission from his father Parjanya if his brother Nanda could be coronated because he was suitable, he was the best suitable to become the king of the Vaishyas. At that time, everybody agreed. They were amazed by the wonderful kindness of Upananda. And interestingly, Upananda, he told everyone that my name is Upananda. Upananda means one who's a follower of Nanda. So it is appropriate that I follow Nanda and Nanda takes the lead. So everyone was happy. They all shouted, "All glory unto you." And Nanda was coronated to be the king. So everyone in Raja was very, very happy. Yashoda was the queen and Nanda Maharaj was the king, and everything was very wonderful in the cowherd community. Everyone were flourishing in heights of propensity, it was mentioned. So it was a very prosperous village. But then everyone had one worry, one worry. The worry was that Yashoda and Nanda did not have children. They didn't have children for a very long time. In one of the letters of Srila Prabhupada to the painters, to his devotee disciple painters, he says when you paint Nanda, he should be painted as a person who's about 50 years of old when Krishna was a baby. So you can imagine they didn't have a child for a very long time. And everyone was worried about it, naturally, because their king didn't have a child and Nanda was the favorite of everyone. So when you love someone so much and they have a small problem, everyone gets worried about it, right? So like that, everybody was worried about Nanda and Yashoda as to why they didn't have a child. And to help them out, all the villagers, everybody, they all performed different kinds of pujas and sacrifices that is mentioned in the Karma Kanda so that this wonderful couple could actually beget a child. And Yashoda and Nanda were also very overwhelmed because they were continuously put through so many different pujas, and time went by and still they never had a child. So they never had a child, and slowly over time, I mean, initially, though they didn't feel the pain, over time, as they were getting a little more old, they also started hankering for a particular child. So it was not that they were just hankering for some child, they were hankering for someone very, very special. In the private quarters of Nanda and Yashoda, Nanda Maharaj spoke to Yashoda. He told Yashoda, "My dear wife, my grief-stricken relatives, they're performing so many yajnas so that we can be happy. But I must tell you the truth. The son that I am hankering for is very, very special. I see a dark complexioned child. His eyes are restless. I often see him in your lap as if he's drinking your milk and he's running around in this house. Do you also see the same boy in your dreams?" He asked his wife. At that time, Yashoda looked at Nanda Maharaj and she was surprised. She said, "Yes, I've seen this boy many, many times in my thoughts and dreams, but I was too shy to tell you. I'm so amazed that even you are seeing the same child." So then they decided that very soon they should have the same child that they were seeing in their dreams. But they felt that maybe we are not destined to have children because it was quite late. Many years had passed by, and they just accepted destiny that they're not going to have children. So Yashoda said, "Yes, I see this child, but then maybe my desire can never be attained. Maybe we will not never have children." So at that time, Nanda Maharaj said, although our destiny is such that we have to be childless, still, I think if we take shelter of the Supreme Lord Narayan, who's the controller of all the worlds, he can do even the impossible. He can do the impossible possible. So Yashoda said, yes, that is very true. Yes, maybe if we take complete shelter of Lord Narayana, and if he desires, we can surely have a son. Then she looked at Nanda Maharaj and she told, my dear husband, maybe, you know what, we should do the Dwadashi Vrata. We are doing so many sacrifices. All these sacrifices, they are not yielding any result. But if we do the Dwadashi Vrata of very committedly worshipping Lord Narayana, then Lord Narayana can do something for us. So when Yashoda proposed this idea of Dwadashi Vrata, at that time Nanda became very, very happy. He told Yashoda, now that I've heard this idea from you, my heart is hankering that we have to somehow go through, or rather observe this vow for a long time, over a period of a year at least, very, very strictly. So they decided to perform the Dwadashi vow. So the Dwadashi vow was pretty much explained, like basically they spend the entire day worshipping the Supreme Lord, like bathing him, bathing the deity form, offering garlands and flowers and nice bhoga and things like that. They read prayers and they perform a fire sacrifice. So this is how the Dwadashi was conducted. So after fasting on Ekadashi, they very rigorously perform this vow. So when they decided to perform this vow, at that time, Anakadundubis were beaten by the demigods. Now, here is an interesting part. When Vasudeva was born, who's the father of Vasudeva Krishna in Mathura, when he was born, the demigods beat Anakadundubi drums. Okay, the Anakadundubi is a variety of drum. So they beat these drums, and therefore one of the names of Vasudeva is Anakadundubi. Okay, that is his name. Because these drums were beaten, his name became Anakadundubi. And now, when Nanda Maharaj decided to take up this vow so that they could soon have Krishna as their son, the same demigods, they again beat the Anakadundavi. So there one Anakadundavi, here Anakadundavi. So they started beating these Dundavi drums because the demigods were very, very excited that very soon Krishna is going to appear. So when Nanda and Yashoda, they passed one full year observing these vows, the Supreme Personality of Godhead at the end of that 1 year appeared in his dreams. He told, my dear devotees, Nanda and Yashoda, you both are very, very attached to me, but you're very troubled because you want a child. Don't worry. A delicate, dark color, glorious boy in the color of an atasi flower. Atasi flower is flaxseed flower. You can Google it and look at the color of that flower. Very beautiful blue. So a dark boy who looks like an atasi flower will become your son, and you will be able to fill your hearts with happiness just by gazing at him all the time. And to increase your happiness, this boy comes kalpa after kalpa, not just once. He becomes your son kalpa after kalpa. So having said this, the Supreme Personality of Godhead disappeared in their dreams. Both Nanda and Yashoda, they just woke up from the same dream. They had the same dream simultaneously. They woke up and they were plunged into an ocean of happiness. And they told each other about the dream and they were extremely happy. So a few days passed, and at that time, there was this very wonderful old woman who came to near Nanda Bhavan. So she was walking, and then she came to Nanda Bhavan like a fortune teller, and she stopped by and she proclaimed, your king, the king of this cowherd community, Nanda, and his wife Yashoda, the root of your lives, are soon going to have a child. And this was told to me by Vedamata. Okay, Mother Saraswati herself declared this to me, and she pronounced the name Krishna, which means that your king and queen are going to have a beautiful child, a very, very beautiful child who will be very glorious, who's going to have all divine qualities, who's going to make everybody happy, who's going to kill demons, and his name will be Krishna. So she said this, and Yashoda and Nanda were delighted because this was a confirmation of their dream. They had already seen Lord Narayan in their dream, and he promised that very soon a beautiful child would appear. And this old woman, who's none other than Purnamasi, she also declared the same thing. So Nanda and Yashoda invited her and made a small hut nearby so that she could reside there with her grandson, and they continued to reside in Vrindavan. Now, before they got pregnant, just before Yashoda was getting pregnant, again they had a dream number 3. So at this dream, what happened was a little boy was hiding behind a young girl. Okay. And the young girl, she just entered Yashoda's womb. While that little boy first went to Nanda Maharaj's hut, then he went to Yashoda's hut, and then he entered Yashoda's womb. Both of them didn't understand anything. They were too startled. But they were happy because it was a very sweet dream. So they were very, very happy. And yes, Yashoda got pregnant. So Yashoda, seeing that she was now pregnant, all the Vrajavasis were so happy to see that her stomach was growing and the baby was getting formed very nicely in her body. And Yashoda's face became very effulgent. She was looking like a shining lamp, glistening like a lamp in a crystal base. This is how it is described. Glistening like a lamp in a crystal base, Krishna filled her with light that shone within and without. Beautiful. So like this, Krishna was present in her womb, and she was really going through this beautiful phase of pregnancy that made her look bright and beautiful. Now, what happens during pregnancy? All the mothers on the call would know, you get cravings, right? You all love to eat different things. Everyone has a unique craving. So Mother Yashoda, interestingly, you know what she longed to eat? She always longed to eat sweet rice with fragrant camphor, sugar, ghee, and decorated with tulasi. So which is nothing but sweet rice flavored with camphor. So she craved to eat this from time to time, and Krishna was enjoying it within her womb, and he was growing in her womb. I said Krishna was in Yashoda's womb, so remember that. Okay, in the month of Bhadra, after her pregnancy was complete, in the month of Bhadra, on a Wednesday, during the auspicious astrological yoga called as Harshana. Harshana means to give happiness, right? So obviously, Krishna is going to appear. The yoga will be Harshana. Shaking away all the darkness in this world, this wonderful child, giving delight to Nanda and Yashoda appeared. So when Krishna appeared from Nanda and Yashoda, everything was glorious and auspicious. Just like even during Satya Yuga, sometimes, even if it is not Satya Yuga, sometimes people meditate. Even if it is not Kali Yoga, people chant the holy names. Sometimes, even if it is not spring, you see malati flowers. Even if it is not summer, you see mangoes coming. So like that, even without Yashoda being aware of it, rather, Yashoda being unaware of it, Krishna was born to her as her son. So actually, Krishna's birth is a secret, right? Krishna's birth is always a secret. Even when he was born to Devaki, it was a secret. So what is it to do with Yashoda here? So something extraordinary happened at the time of Krishna's birth. Actually, the two-armed form of Krishna appeared from Yashoda's womb. Okay, and then Yogamaya made Yashoda bewildered about her newborn child. So Yashoda was completely bewildered. She didn't understand that she actually gave birth to a boy baby. Then the same Yogamaya who transferred Balaram from Devaki to Rohini's womb, that same Yogamaya then took birth from Yashoda's womb. So remember the dream. The dream was, first there was a blackish boy who was hiding behind a girl. Okay, the girl entered Yashoda's womb, but the boy went to the heart of Nanda and then to Yashoda, and then he was born, right? So Yashoda actually gave birth to two babies, twins. And first Krishna was born. Yogamaya covered up Yashoda, and then Yashoda gave birth to Yogamaya, the girl baby. So now two babies were born, but everyone was covered by Yogamaya, including the people in the maternity room. So nobody realized really what happened. It was at this time that Vasudeva had come all the way from Mathura, crossing river Yamuna, and when he came, he left his Vasudeva Krishna, who's the four-armed baby Krishna, next to Yashoda, and he took the girl baby Yogamaya and he went away. Once he left this child, the two Krishnas actually merged and they became one Krishna. So this is how Gopalachampu explains the birth of Krishna from Yashoda. So this is a very, very beautiful explanation. And even Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur actually talks about this in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he actually explains based on a scriptural evidence from Harivamsha Purana that both Devaki and Yashoda simultaneously gave birth at the same time to Krishna, and then Yogamaya was born. So this is the statement of Harivamsha Purana. So this is how the statement is understood. And in Gopalachampu, a very beautiful description about the birth given by Yashoda, the two kids that were born from Yashoda is explained. So now Vasudeva Krishna emerges into our Nandanandana Krishna or Yashoda Nandan Krishna, and they become one. Now there was a beautiful newborn baby, boy baby next to Yashoda, and his face was so beautiful, so beautiful. Yashoda, now Yogamaya had uncovered Yashoda's vision. Now Yashoda was looking around and she saw this very beautiful baby boy, and she looked at him. He was looking like a beautiful sapphire. He was sapphire colored, bluish, dark blue sapphire colored, and his face was defeating the beauty of the moon. Today's class, we were hearing from Adigadadar Prabhu, 24 and a half moons, Krishna's body is described as. So his face was defeating the entire beauty of the moon, and he had the grace of beautiful lotus-like arms and legs. His limbs were like lotus petals. His feet was very, very soft, and he was appearing so resplendent. So now Yashoda was looking at her child, and she became stunned like a picture. She had never seen something so beautiful before. And she was wondering, is this boy a fruit from the tree of my limbs? Meaning, did I really give birth to such a beautiful child? So she was looking at the child and she was trying to speak. She was trying to call the people around her, but she was so choked with emotion that the voice was not coming out of her mouth. And Krishna was crying, because of course he is the personification of the Pranava. And he was crying, as she was pondering about the beauty of Krishna. So she was trying to call her to her friends, but then tears were swelling out of her eyes and it was wetting her cheeks. It was almost reaching her neck and she was unable to speak anything at all. And then finally, Yogamaya touched the rest of them who were actually sleeping and she woke them up. So now everyone was awake. Yogamaya took off her covering and everyone was awake and they saw this splendid blue boy next to Yashoda and they became extremely happy. So Krishna's face is like a cooling moon. When you have moonshine out in the sky, what blooms? Lotus flower blooms, right? So like that, the residents of Raja, their hearts bloomed with happiness when they saw the cooling moon of our beautiful Rajendra Nandan. So Yashoda, what does her name mean? Her name means Yashaha Dadati iti Yashoda, right? One who gives Yasha, one who gives fame. But whom is she giving fame to? Interestingly, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that she is giving fame to Devaki. Why? Because the whole world knows that Krishna was born from Devaki. Not many people know that Krishna was also born from Yashoda. So therefore, she gave fame to Devaki. Therefore, she's called as Yashoda. And not only did she give fame to Devaki, she gave fame to one other person. And who that person is? That is Krishna. Because in the Damodar pastime, she was the one who bound Krishna with her love. So she made Krishna famous as Bhaktavatsala. he gets bound by the love of his devotees. So Krishna became famous as Bhaktavatsala only because of Yashoda. So her name Yashoda, giver of fame, is applicable because she gave fame to Devaki and she also gave fame to Krishna himself. So that is the glory of Yashoda. And in some places in the Bhagavatam, Yashoda is also referred as Devaki. That is one of her names, interestingly, because the Brihad Vishnu Purana, it explains that one of the other names of Devaki, one of the other names of Yashoda is Devaki. This is the verse that is quoted. The wife of Nanda had two names, Yashoda and also Devaki. Therefore, it was natural that the wife of Nanda developed friendship with Devaki, the wife of Shauri or Vasudeva. This is in accordance with the Vaishnav Toshini, Ananda Vrindavan Champu, and Brihad Bhagavatamrita. The verse is Dvinamni Nanda Bharyaya Yashoda Devaki iticha Atasakyam Adbhutatasya Devakya Shauri Jayaya. So this is the verse that says that one of the other names for Yashoda was Devaki. So if the scriptures are telling Krishna as the child of Devaki, it should also be understood that Krishna is the child of Yashoda. Very simple. In fact, you would be surprised to see in many places in the Srimad Bhagavatam, at least in a couple of places, even before Krishna left Vrindavan and he went to Mathura and Dwaraka, even before it was revealed that he was the son of Devaki, the gopis glorify Krishna as the son of Devaki. How did the gopis know? It's not that the gopis were describing Krishna as the son of that Devaki. They were talking about Yashoda, who's also known as Devaki. Yeah. So Mother Yashoda, she was the central figure of witnessing a lot of Krishna's Bali Leelas. She was the most important person when Krishna was performing all his childhood pastimes because, of course, Krishna was her baby. So she had the greatest fortune of seeing all his Leelas and getting drowned in transcendental bliss. Not only was she drowned in transcendental bliss, but she was also immersed in transcendental anxiety. Because Krishna Leela is not always, it's not always fun in one sense. It can also put his devotees into anxiety. For example, the first Leela that Krishna did, which everyone saw, was the Putana Leela, right? So when Putana came to feed poison to Krishna, where he was a little baby of a few days, but he sucked the life out of Putana, and Putana, who was 12 miles long, she went and she fell in the gardens of Kamsa. Actually, she destroyed the garden of Kamsa. It was all Kamsa's trees that were destroyed. Nothing happened to Nanda Maharaj's wealth. Everything that Kamsa had got destroyed by the falling of Putana. So when such a big Rakshasi had fallen down, our Krishna was very happy, very blissful, playing on the body of Putana. At that time, when everyone heard such a huge crashing sound, they were really worried. And all the ladies, headed by Yashoda and Rohini, they ran into the maternity room because it was just a few days, right? Just a few days since Yashoda gave birth. So that was the first thing that they were worried about. What happened to our little baby? So they went and they ran into the maternity room because they knew Putana had this lady, some lady had come to give milk. So when they went and saw that Krishna was missing, at that time, both Yashoda and Rohini, both of them fell down unconscious. They were so shocked. They had not expected such a thing. They were completely shocked and they fell down unconscious. And the gopis were also in Vatsalya Rasa, but definitely the immersion that Yashoda had, the other gopis would obviously not have, because for Yashoda, it was her own child. So obviously the intensity and the emotions are much heavier. But the other ladies were also in Vatsalya Rasa. All of them, they ran out of the house except Yashoda and Rohini. They all ran out of the house, and including the Gopas, and they picked up little Krishna and they performed all the rituals for his safety. You must have heard of these different rituals like waving the tail of a calf and all that. So, and they marked tilak and they did all these rituals for his safety. But Rohini and Mother Yashoda, they were in so much anxiety, they were so affected by anxiety that they just didn't understand anything. After all the rituals were complete, finally they were in a position to actually take little Krishna in their lap, and she fed him milk. And when she saw that he had taken milk very nicely, then she felt a little comforted. Because when a child drinks milk nicely, when a child eats well, that means the child is feeling well. So Krishna's feeling well made Yashoda feel well. So that is what happened during the Putana Vela. Now, this transcendental anxiety didn't stop there. It kept happening over and over and over in Yashoda's life. So a few months later, when Yashoda's baby was just 3 months old, on a Rohini Nakshatra day, because Krishna was also born in a Rohini Nakshatra. On a Rohini Nakshatra day, 3 months after his appearance, he tried to slant his body, meaning a baby tries to roll over, move his body. So it's called as the Utthana. Utthana ceremony is celebrated at the time when the baby tries to roll over. And that is the day when the child is ready for his first outside visit. So up to 3 months, traditionally, of course not today, but traditionally a child is kept inside the house. And once he's ready for his first outside visit, he actually rolls over. And at that time, a huge ceremony is performed. Now, this ceremony, this Uttana ceremony, becomes important for the mothers. So the day after Krishna was born, Nanda Utsava was for the fathers. Okay, so it's Nanda's Utsava, right? So the father takes the responsibility of celebrating that festival. But the Uttana ceremony is special for the mothers. So it was Yashoda's day. So she was very, very excited to be celebrating this Uttana ceremony. And she invited several Brahmanas and the different ladies in Rajapuri. She called everyone to come and bless the child. So professional musicians came. There was a huge function, and Yashoda was very, very busy greeting all the guests. Meanwhile, Krishna was falling asleep because he was a baby, 3 months old baby. What do? They just sleep and they drink milk. So he was falling asleep, and Yashoda was holding Krishna in her lap. So she put him on her lap, and she was thinking that she also had other responsibilities because a lot of them had come that day. So she was patting him to sleep, and she thought, okay, let me leave him in a particular place so that I can go and attend to the guests. So very carefully, she picked up her baby and she went to the courtyard where there was a huge cart, and under the cart there was a little cradle for Krishna, like a bassinet or a little cot for Krishna. So she placed her baby very carefully so that he would not wake up onto that bassinet, and she slept next to him, patting him so that he could sleep well. She didn't want to, just leave him and run away. She wanted to make sure that he really slept. So after it was confirmed that he had slept well, then Yashoda very slowly she got up and carefully she went to take care of her guests. Now Yashoda was very busy worshipping all these brahmanas with full attention. Why? Because she wanted all the brahmanas to bless her son nicely. She wanted the best for her child. So she wanted the brahmanas to give their profuse blessings on her little baby so that her little baby could be well protected and he could grow up nicely. So she was very, very attentive in worshipping all these brahmanas. And she worshipped the brahmanas, and she was giving chandana, sindura, kumkuma for all the ladies, giving them bangles and other things, and worshipping all these ladies who would give blessings. And she was sending them off one by one. Meanwhile, what happened was suddenly Krishna started crying. Now, when Krishna started crying, Yashoda didn't hear it. It is not that, she heard Krishna crying and still she ignored him and she was taking care of these guests. No, she really didn't hear it. She didn't hear anything because so many people and so much noise, she didn't realize that Krishna was crying. But Krishna, who was crying, got angry that his mother didn't hear him. So, in anger, he thought, you're not hearing my crying. I'll make a sound that is so loud that you can really hear. And he throws his leg on top and he kicks the cart, and the cart collapses. And you all know the rest of the story, Shakatasura and all that. But Krishna, why did he raise his leg and kick the cart? Not for the sake of Utkacha, more to grab his mother's attention. So he did that, and immediately, with a crashing noise of that cart, everyone was alerted. Everybody was alerted, and they all ran out to see what had happened. And when they all ran out, they realized that actually the cart had collapsed and the baby was beneath the cart. So the men went and they put up the cart together and they actually worshipped the cart, because the cart is a is a very important part of their livelihood. So they put things, and of course, the women immediately they took out Krishna, who was under the cart, and they asked, "What happened? What really happened? I mean, how did all this, how did this cart collapse?" And the little boys there were telling that actually this little baby he kicked the cart and the cart collapsed. At that time, Yashoda, she was overwhelmed with prema. She didn't, listen to all this childish talks. She just dismissed all of them, thinking that that is not possible. He's a little baby. His feet is as soft as lotus petals. How can he kick the cart and how would the cart break? So, out of her anxiety and because her heart was filled with so much prema, she ran inside and she called for the brahmanas and she requested all of them to perform an auspicious ritualistic ceremony by chanting Vedic hymns and blessing the child. So again, anxiety. Now, again, when Krishna was 1 year old, this is very interesting because it's the pastime of Trinavarta, where Yashoda is gone by now. This is the third episode, and Trinavarta came by, and this pastime is actually, it talks about so many aspects of Yashoda's love for Krishna. So when Krishna was 1 year old, Yashoda was very, very happy to be having her child on her lap. And from time to time, she would throw her child in the sky and she would catch him. So, around 1 year of age, you can be a little more rough with kids, right? So she was throwing the child in the air and she was catching him, of course, very gently, like how a mother would do with all her attention. And suddenly, when she was playing with her child like that, Krishna was enjoying this. He loved it. I mean, all kids love it, right? You throw them into the air and you catch them, any child would enjoy it. So Krishna was thoroughly enjoying this and he was feeling so much happiness. But suddenly, Krishna started becoming very, very heavy. And the reason why Krishna became very heavy? Because he wanted Mother Yashoda to leave him. Why did he want Mother Yashoda to leave him? He wanted Mother Yashoda to leave him because he knew the intentions of Trinavarta. Trinavarta's intention was to actually kidnap Krishna and Yashoda together. That was his intention. So Krishna wanted to save his mother. He wanted to, punish Trinavarta, but at the same time, he wanted to save his mother. So that is the reason he became heavy. So he became heavy so that his mother would drop him down. So Yashoda just couldn't carry him. She was thinking something is wrong with my child. Maybe some demon has possessed my child. She was thinking like that, and automatically a sign of prema is anxiety. So she got very anxious for the protection of her child. She didn't understand, why is my child so heavy? What's happened to him? Something is wrong with him. So in that anxiety, she ran inside and she went around calling for some brahmanas so that these brahmanas could chant some mantras and whatever had possessed her little child would go away. But it was Krishna's Aishwarya Shakti that made him very heavy. So she left Krishna there and she went to find some Brahmins so that they could chant a few mantras. And when she was searching for the Brahmanas, at that time Trinavarta came and he picked up Krishna and he was a whirlwind and he took him up. Okay. Now, when so much dust was raised in Vrindavan, everybody were surprised. What happened to Vrindavan? Suddenly, so much dust and winds. They couldn't understand anything. Yashoda was trying to find some Brahmins, and just within a few seconds, she came running and she saw Krishna was missing. And there was a huge whirlwind, and everyone was running hither and thither. They were trying to find, things around them because the entire area of Rajamandal was covered with dust, Rajas and Tamas. Rajas is dust, Tamas is darkness. So because there's so much wind, they could not see each other. So just like when a yogi's heart is covered with Rajas and Tamas, he cannot see Krishna. Like that, this entire Rajabhumi was covered with Rajas and Tamas, and they could not see each other, and they could not see Krishna also. Oh, Mother Yashoda was so much in anxiety. She just didn't know what to do. She just went to find some Brahmins to perform some swasthayana karma, meaning for the good fortune of her child. And Trinavarta came and just took away her child. So she was trying to scream out for Krishna. She was running for Krishna. She was asking the people around if they saw Krishna, but nobody could do anything at that time. At that time, she just fell down on the ground helpless, just like how a cow who has lost her calf would just collapse. So this was the third incident, and by now she had completely lost it. She had completely lost it, and she was so helpless because there was no one who could help her, and she could not see Krishna, and nothing could be done. So she just collapsed on the ground, not knowing what to do. And eventually, as the dust got cleared a bit around her, the other Rajavasis, the other ladies, they came and they saw how Yashoda had collapsed, and they were feeling very, very bad for Yashoda. Everyone started to lament. Everyone was lamenting, and everyone was feeling aggrieved to see Mother Yashoda with so much tears. And at first, Krishna, who was a very normal child, right, with the same Aishwarya Shakti, he made himself light so that Trinavarta could carry him. Initially, he was heavy because Yashoda had to leave him. Now he became light so that Trinavarta could carry him. Now, when he saw his mother like this, when he saw his mother's condition like this, and all the gopis trying to somehow appease her, at that time, Krishna thought, oh, what am I achieving by this? My mother is in so much distress. I must first relieve her distress. So that is the reason he decided to actually chastise Trinavarta. So, with his little fingers that are as soft as lotus petals and his body that was as light as a feather suddenly became heavy, and with his fingers, he started to choke or press on Trinavarta's neck, so much so that Trinavarta could not bear the weight of this child or the pressing of his neck. He was choked completely and he fell down on a rock, crashing. Now, it's interesting how when you're carried by a wind, so imagine an object is carried up by some winds, there is no guarantee that that object will fall down at the same place again because it's going so high up in the air. When Krishna was up in the air, he was very happy giving his darshan to all the celestials. It's explained. All the celestials were very happy. Hi, Krishna has come here to give his darshan to us. So Krishna had a fantastic ride. He was enjoying. He was thinking, see, my mother, how much can she lift me? She can just throw me for a few feet and she's going to catch me. But with Trinavarta, I'm going to have a nice ride. So he was enjoying this thoroughly. But the second he saw that his mother was in so much distress, he made sure, okay, let me finish this guy. And he finished Trinavarta, and Trinavarta fell down on the rock in front of the Rajavasis so that he could give immediate relief to the Rajavasis. Krishna's focus at that time was to relieve his mother from pain. So he made sure that Trinavarta fell on that rock, and Trinavarta's body dislodged as it fell on the rock, but Krishna was perfectly fine and he was playing on the body of Trinavarta. At this time, all the gopas, they went running, and the gopis also went running. Mother Yashoda was, she was totally gone. She was just not able to do anything. She was completely shocked. She was dismayed. She didn't understand anything. But the rest of them, they went running and they picked up this little baby. And the beauty of these cowherd men and women is that they were also in Vatsalya Rasa. And they don't care for their own well-being because this was a huge demon, a demon, right? So they were not worried about their safety. A demon could do anything, who knows whether he's still alive or not. They were not worried about all that. Their only concern was Krishna. So they went and they picked up this little Krishna, and some of the gopis were telling Yashoda, Ma Yashoda, you're really, really not at all responsible. You have such a wonderful child, such a delicate little darling. And what are you doing? You're just leaving him here and there, and so many people are coming and taking advantage of this baby. What sort of mother are you? So they were chastising Mother Yashoda. Again, this was out of affection for Krishna. But your mother Yashoda was trying to explain to them that actually he got heavy. That is the reason I left him. And I left him for his own safety so that I could go and I could bring some brahmanas to chant some mantras. I didn't know such a thing would happen within a matter of few seconds. So she tried to explain this to the gopis, and the gopis, they told, what are you talking, Mother Yashoda? Your child became heavy like a rock? No way, he's as light as a feather. What are you talking? So, like this, it was an astonishment for everyone as to see how Krishna was actually saved from this Rakshasa or this demon, a human or a man eating demon, he's called. So they were very, very happy to see how Lord Narayan actually saved this little boy from the mouth of death. So the anxiety that Mother Yashoda had is described in one verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is Canto 10, Chapter 8, verse number 25. When Mother Yashoda and Rohini were unable to protect the babies from calamities threatened by horned cows, by fire, by animals with claws and teeth, such as monkeys, dogs, and cats, and by thorns, swords, and other weapons on the ground, they were always an anxiety, and their household engagements were disturbed. At that time, they were fully equipoised in transcendental ecstasy. So this verse tells that they were always in anxiety. But what sort of anxiety was this? Is it some sort of a mundane anxiety? No, the verse clarifies that they were fully equipoised in what? In transcendental ecstasy. So, and Prabhupada, he writes in the purport, he says, as far as the love of Mother Yashoda and Rohini is concerned, nothing about them is material. Nothing is material. This land of Raja is described in Brahma Samhita as Ananda Chinmaya Rasa. In the spiritual world, there is anxiety, there is crying, and there are other feelings similar to those in the material world, but they're all completely transcendental. The reality of these feelings is in the transcendental world. Real anxiety, real crime is up there in the transcendental world. It's not here. Whatever we see here in the name of anxiety and crying is only an imitation, is only a perverted reflection of what true anxiety is. True anxiety for Krishna is ecstasy. Okay, so that is how Bhagavatam describes this anxiety that Mother Yashoda and Rohini harbored for Krishna, and how they loved Krishna so much. And this is not like any other relationship in this world, because the relationships in this world are nothing but a perverted reflection of what is seen in the purest form in the spiritual world. And after the gopis chastised Mother Yashoda, and Mother Yashoda finally got Krishna in her hands, again she fed Krishna, and when she saw that Krishna was drinking milk happily, only then she was pacified. There are so many pastimes, like for example, Krishna showing his universal form in the mouth, right? That's a very famous pastime. So once when Mother Yashoda was feeding her little child, her baby yawned. And when her little Krishna yawned, Yashoda, she saw the entire universe within his mouth. And according to Brahma in the Brahma prayers, that is then the 10th canto, chapter 14, Brahma says that Yashoda saw the universe in Krishna's abdomen. So she saw all the way through. She saw till the abdomen. That's how Brahma's prayers explain this incident. Krishna was lying on his mother's lap, which was like a foundation for Krishna, right? For a baby, the foundation is the mother's lap. So Krishna was lying there. But then, by his inconceivable energy, when he was showing the universal form in his mouth, he was showing that he is the foundation of this entire universe, including Mother Yashoda's lap. So that is the opulence that Krishna showed in his mouth. And Mother Yashoda was very, very bewildered when she saw this. See, Mother Yashoda she had this pure Vatsalya Rasa, but that Vatsalya Rasa was a little disturbed because she was bewildered by the opulence of her child. So at this time, her heart began to throb, and in astonishment, she just wanted to close her eyes. She didn't want to see it at all. She just wanted to close her eyes. And she didn't know what to do. She was worried for her child. Even at this time, it was not that she began to appreciate the opulence of her child. My child is the Supreme Lord. It was not like that. Yashoda, she immediately surrendered to the Supreme Lord. She surrendered to the Supreme Lord, and she thought, what is this? What's happening with me? Maybe by the influence of Maya, I am thinking in terms of I and mine, that I am Nanda's wife and I am the queen of Raja. And then she became very disappointed. She thought, I am trying to protect my child by doing so much charity, worshipping Brahmanas, doing auspicious activities. But it appears that all these activities are completely useless. Nothing is protecting my child. The Supreme Lord has given so many things for me, and I think I am the possessor of these things, so I can do auspicious activities, I can take care of my child. But the Supreme Lord is teaching me that he's actually in charge of everything and nothing is in my control. Everything is under the control of the Lord. So I must seek shelter of Lord Narayan and just surrender unto him. So like this, Mother Yashoda, she started analyzing the philosophy of life. But then even this also stopped in a few moments, because by the influence of Yoga Maya, she just forgot everything. She thought, oh, what is the use of all this philosophical understanding? He is my child. I just have to take care of him. That's my business. If I don't take care of him, how is he going to be protected? So she thought like that, and she just decided to take care of her child and not worry so much about philosophy. And she completely immersed her thoughts and her activities in the service of Krishna by taking care of him. So this forgetfulness is of her, jumping from those philosophical thoughts to, thinking, oh, dismiss all of that. He's my baby. Let me take care of him. That is also the influence of Yoga Maya. Generally, materialistic persons, they are bewildered by Mahamaya, but devotees like Yashoda, they are captivated by Yoga Maya. So that was the condition of Mother Yashoda. Not only was she in anxiety from time to time, she would also be in transcendental bliss, right? Because after all, she's having Krishna as a child. So not only anxiety, but also bliss. Whenever she would see Krishna crawling, amidst the cow dung and urine, and him catching on to the tails of calves and having a ride with the calves, and when Mother Yashoda and Rohini would see the little teeth that were coming out of Krishna's mouth as he was growing, because when babies have teeth, mothers like to see he's having teeth. So that all these things, little things, drowned Mother Yashoda in transcendental bliss. And eventually, these babies, Krishna and Balram, they started walking. And once they started walking, Yashoda's immersion in Krishna Leela really intensified in a very nice way, because she could hear all the mischievous pranks of her little child. So now Krishna started walking, and what did he do when he started walking? He started plundering the neighborhood. So he went from house to house and he would start stealing butter. And all these women in Rajabhumi, they thoroughly enjoyed these different pranks of Krishna. And the greater enjoyment they had was to come and report everything to Yashoda. Because when they would talk so much about what Krishna did, that would give them happiness. And they loved to go and complain to Mother Yashoda. Not that they wanted Krishna to be chastised by Mother Yashoda, they wanted to share their happiness with Yashoda, so that Yashoda could also hear about all these mischievous pranks of Krishna, and she could also immerse and share the happiness that the gopis were actually feeling. And Yashoda, she would stop many of her household chores and she would just sit down and listen to all the activities of her child. And on the pretext of actually scolding Yashoda's restless child, these gopis would actually end up giving so much joy to Mother Yashoda. So the gopis would come and they would tell Mother Yashoda, Mother Yashoda, just hear about your child's mischievous pranks. Just before dawn, your restless child, he walks around the neighborhood. He looks for an opportunity to steal some yogurt. And what he does is, before it's time for milking, before dawn, he goes and he releases all the calves. And all these calves, when they are going to drink, once they are released, they run to drink their mother's milk. When everyone runs here and there to stop these calves from taking away all the milk, at that time, when everyone is busy trying to hold back these calves, your son, he goes inside the house and he begins to steal all the butter and yogurt and he runs away. And then another lady said, one day when this yogurt thief came, we all shouted, beat him, time up, stop him. But then your son, he smiled so sweetly, just getting smitten by his intoxicating smile. We all just stood there stunned and we couldn't do anything. We just watched him do his dirty work. So we just watched him as he was stealing things without responding. We were all so stunned. And we were all looking at him, and this boy was happily, very calmly eating all the butter and the yogurt, and we were all just standing there like painted pictures. So at that time, Yashoda told them, okay, in that case, why didn't you just let him eat and then, let him eat his belly full? I mean, why are you, if you were just happy watching him doing his dirty work, then let him just eat the butter. Right? Just eat the butter. Let him do what he wants. Maybe he was hungry. He's a little kid. It's okay. So at that time, the gopis said, oh, what are you talking? You think he's hungry? He's getting the best of the foods in your house. It's not a question of hunger. It's a taste for stealing. He has developed taste for stealing. He likes only stolen butter. He likes only stolen milk. He's that sort of a boy. If we go and give it to him, like you're suggesting, why don't you just give the butter? Why does he have to steal? You think he's going to accept it? He won't accept it because he just enjoys all this. He wants to release the cows, and then he goes and he steals. And he likes to steal in two ways: in front of us, like when we are stunned, and without us seeing, like releasing the cars and very naughtily, stealthily going inside and stealing everything. So he uses his intelligence also in many ways to steal, because every time he steals, it should be very new, right? All new types of stealing. He comes up with all new methods. So that is your son. And then another gopi said, one day, even before eating the yogurt for himself, what he did was he went and stole all the yogurt and he gave it to all the monkeys. And when the monkeys had taken their full and they could not eat any more, he told all of us, oh, what is the use of me eating this yogurt? Even the monkeys don't want it, so I'm not going to eat. And in anger, he broke all the pots. Then another gopi said, when he enters the house and he doesn't find any yogurt, he becomes so angry at all the occupants of the house. And he tells us, you stay here and I will come tomorrow with a torch and I'll burn down your house. I'll burn down your entire house if you don't give me yogurt. You're all hiding the yogurt from me. So like this, Krishna, he runs out of the house telling that he's going to come back tomorrow with a torch, and he pinches little babies and he scratches them with his nails and he runs away. And then another gopi said, oh, that day he entered the house and the yogurt pot was tied up high and it was so hard to reach. So what he did, he brought all his friends and they started climbing on each other's shoulder. And then he took up all the butter and all the yogurt. So sometimes if he cannot reach these butter pots and these yogurt pots, he makes a hole in them and then they drink all the yogurt that falls off from these pots. So he's very, very learned. He knows how to do all of this. And then Yashoda said, oh, why can't you just be careful? I mean, you're complaining so much about, Krishna. You're telling that he's going and he's devising ways to actually steal from your house. If that is the case, why don't you be careful? So the gopi said, your son comes only when everyone is busy, when we're all engaged in household affairs. And Krishna has already stolen our hearts with his, with his bewitching power of his gentle smile. He smiles so sweetly and he's stolen our hearts. So, there is no way that we can really stop him from doing all this. It's so hard. He likes to steal. That is the problem with him. And then they told Mother Yashoda, you seem to be very blissful. Yeah? You just want us to keep talking about him. And you don't even want to scold your child. You're enjoying this. You're enjoying all of this. You're in happiness. You appear blissful hearing his pastimes. Oh, come on. You know what? Very soon, your child is going to, when he grows up, he's going to bring a lots of money for you. He's going to go and plunder everyone's wealth. He's going to plunder all the women and he'll make you very, very wealthy like this. Sometimes this Krishna, he pollutes even worshipable places. He comes there and he dirties that place. He pulls the braids of little girls and then he ties the two braids together. He pulls everyone's sari pallus. He kicks them. He makes proposals to them. He's doing all sorts of things. He's very soon going to steal everyone's money and all their wives. And like this is the way you're bringing up your child, and this is what your child is going to do when he grows up. So when they made such heavy complaints, Krishna, who was standing there, he became very sad. He made a sad face because he got scared. He was really scared that his mother is going to scold him or beat him. But his face began to tremble. And the gopis were so absorbed looking at this beautiful trembling face of Krishna. So they were absorbed even looking at that face. And everybody, they were all so blissful, and they became, even Mother Yashoda, when she was seeing the trembling face of her child, she didn't get angry. Rather, she was also immersed in ecstasy, looking at his different expressions and hearing about his different pranks. So she didn't have a single intention of actually scolding her child. And in her heart, she was thinking, let all these gopis drown me in this bliss. And in this bliss of hearing about my child's mischievous pranks. So like this Vatsalya Rasa they were tasting the Vatsalya Rasa. The taste of Vatsalya Rasas by the gopis finding fault in Krishna is actually very, very unique. It's a very unique taste. They completely enjoyed finding faults in Krishna. And this is also because of the love that they have. It's not, when we talk about fault finding, it's actually a very, it's not a good quality to harbor, right? To have fault finding tendency, but the gopis, they were enjoying finding faults in Krishna, and it was immersing them in love and affection. So Yashoda, in her Vatsal, she would undergo different emotions like anxiety. She even went through Vismaya Rasa, astonishment actually, when she saw this universal form in her child's mouth. Because not only did she see the universe in a child's mouth when Krishna yawned once, we all know the other famous pastime when Balaram and the Gopas came and complained to Mother Yashoda that Krishna had eaten dirt. So when Yashoda heard that Krishna had eaten dirt, she called out for Krishna and she told Krishna, Krishna, what did you do? You've become so restless. Am I not giving you sweets at home? You've eaten dirt in a solitary place, and all your playmates have actually lodged a complaint against you, including your elder brother. And they are not doing this, just because they are envious of you or they want to put you in trouble. Your own brother has told me this. So because your brother himself has told me this, I have to believe it. It should be true. And at that time, Krishna said, no, I didn't eat dirt. So he blatantly lied. Why? It's so beautiful. You know why he lied? He lied because of the fear of being beaten. It's natural for any child to lie so that he's not beaten. If his mom has caught him doing something, it's only natural for a child to lie. And this lie is going to nourish the Vatsalya Bhav of the mother. So her parental affection increases. Vatsalya and other rasas, they spring from love of God. And this love of God is within the devotee's heart. And it arises in the devotee because of Krishna's inherent affection for his devotees. Bhakta Vatsala. So the Lord's quality of Bhakta Vatsalya is greater than any of his other spiritual qualities such as purity, mercy, truthfulness, or anything else. Krishna's telling of a lie springs from his Bhakta Vatsalya, and it is not a fault. Rather, it is the crown jewel of all his qualities. So this is a deep analysis of Krishna's lying. So Krishna's lying is to, foster that Vatsalya Bhav that is springing from Prema, which is within the heart of Krishna. And where is this Prema coming from? It is coming because Krishna is Bhakta Vatsala. So like this, the relationship between the mother and the child is being fostered in various ways. So even when Mother Yashoda, when Krishna opened his mouth and when Mother Yashoda again saw the universal form, Yashoda became bewildered, but she was bewildered by prema. Just like how one gets out of a dream very, very quickly by the influence of Yogamaya, our Yashoda, she completely forgot about the universal form. She didn't have any appreciation for the greatness of Krishna. She immediately came out of this. So there are many more instances as Krishna was growing up of seeing how Mother Yashoda would reciprocate with him. During the Govardhan Leela pastime and during the Kaliya Leela pastime, similarly, Krishna was actually put, according to Mother Yashoda, she felt that her child was put to great difficulty. Right? You think of the Kaliya Leela, Krishna was inside the Yamuna waters for so long. And it is described that Mother Yashoda really lost consciousness and she fainted on the shores of river Yamuna. But then when Krishna came back from the waters of the Yamuna, Yashoda felt very, very fortunate. And she began embracing her child again and again. She was repeatedly embracing her child again and again, wetting him with all her tears. And while she was embracing him like this, Srila Rupa Goswami, he comments, he says, my dear Krishna, the touch of your mother is so pleasing and cooling that it surpasses the cooling capacity of the pulp of sandalwood and of bright moonshine mixed up with the Ushira root. So it was so cool because Ushira root is also called as vetiver. In the English name is also derived from the name vetiver. It's called vetiver root. So this Ushira root, when it is dipped in water, it gives a very cooling effect. So the water collected from the extract of the Ushira root, so that is cooling. Then you imagine sandalwood pulp. It is very, very cooling. One drop or one dot of sandalwood pulp on the forehead gives a cooling effect to the entire body. It makes the entire body get released of heat. So like that, sandalwood pulp is so potent. The extract of Ushira root is very potent. And the cooling rays of the moon, that is really, really cooling. So imagine if all the three are mixed together, that is the effect of Mother Yashoda's embrace on Krishna. So it can just remove any sort of heat, or any sort of distress that Krishna was feeling with his transcendental body, because Krishna doesn't feel any distress, but still for the sake of Leela, he feels distress. And it is only Mother Yashoda who can remove all that distress. And when Krishna would go out to the pastures to graze the cows and the calves, at that time, Yashoda would never want her son to leave her. So, Brihad Bhagavatamrita, such a beautiful scripture that describes the different dealings of all these devotees with Krishna. Mother Yashoda, she had so much affection for Krishna. She just hated the time when Krishna had to go to the forest. She would walk along with Krishna for a few, maybe for a few meters or yards. She would just walk with him, not having the heart to leave him. And then she would walk. She would make sure everything was okay with Krishna. She would check if his flute was tucked properly, if his hairstyle was okay, and if he had taken his lunch box. And then she would say bye, and then she would try walking back home, but then she would turn around. Again, she would go back, and then she would run and see if everything was okay with Krishna. She would call Balram, she would call Sridham, and then give him instructions as to how Krishna must be protected. She would tell Balram, you walk in the front, Sridham, you walk in the back. Make sure that Krishna is always protected. He's very restless. You should take care of him in the forest. So like that, Mother Yashoda, she was very, very protective of Krishna. And she would not want Krishna to go to the forest at all. So once Krishna smiled and he tells his mother, Mother, actually, there are no dangers in the forest for you to fear. You're very worried that some demon would come and attack us, but really there is nothing for you to worry at all, because all the demons are being killed by me. Everyone is killed. And all these demons have become ghosts. So then Mother Yashoda said, what? All the demons are killed? Then these ghosts will come and trouble you. All these ghosts will attack you. So Mother Yashoda, she started telling, don't go to the forest, because what will happen if the ghosts attack you? And then Krishna would say, oh, Mother, don't worry. Even if they have become ghosts, all these ghosts would get delivered, because you are walking in the land of Raja. If any of these ghosts would come in contact with the dust from your lotus feet, immediately they will attain liberation. So these are the words of Krishna. So Krishna is telling, Krishna is the Supreme Lord whose dust of the lotus feet great yogis are hankering for. But the Supreme Lord states that anybody can get delivered if they get a fraction of the dust from your lotus feet, my dear mother. And then finally, Krishna convinced his mother, telling him that, oh, you're talking about demons? They are not real demons. We just make statues of demons and we play with them. So don't take them too seriously. We just use them for playing games. So like this, Krishna finally convinces his mother and he gets to go to the forest. So the parental love of Yashoda for Krishna, it increases. And sometimes this ecstasy is described as intense affection, and sometimes it is also described as overwhelming attachment. So Yashoda was overwhelmingly attached to her child. So like this, when Parikshit Maharaj, he heard the glories of Yashoda from the Srimad Bhagavatam, as Shukadev Goswami was talking, he was very, very surprised. He was amazed to see how Yashoda's love did not diminish even a bit after she saw the universal form of Krishna two times minimum in the Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam records two times. They could be more, because there are so many unlimited leelas of Krishna and so many leelas that is relished by so many acharyas. So at least two are mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So Parikshit, he became greatly astonished that how is it that Mother Yashoda She was not even a little bit bewildered by all this. So he calls her, what pious, he calls her Mahodaya. So he says, what pious activities did Nanga and Yashoda perform to achieve such great results? And he calls Yashoda as Mahabhaga. She's the most fortunate. She's the most fortunate woman. In fact, he calls specifically Mother Yashoda as Mahabhaga because the mother is actually more celebrated than the father. Yes, Nanda Maharaj is also a great devotee, but the mother is actually she becomes more important because the mother gets to stay with the child for more amount of time. The father has to go out, he has to go to work, he has to come back. So Krishna doesn't stay with his father all the time, but he always stays with Mother Yashoda. So Mother Yashoda is described as the most fortunate, Mahabhaga. So Parikshit Maharaj asked, how is it that Nanda and Yashoda, they got this fortune of seeing the childhood pastimes of Krishna and not Devaki and Vasudeva? Because Devaki, she gave birth to Krishna, but she didn't have the fortune of seeing the childhood pastimes. What is so special about Yashoda? Parikshit Maharaj, he asked Shukadev Goswami. So at that time, Shukadev Goswami, he explained that the great Vasu by the name Drona and his wife Dara, they performed sadhana bhakti and they prayed for pure prema bhakti. That was their desire. They wanted the Lord to appear on earth. They wanted the Lord to perform beautiful pastimes so that bhakti could be evoked in the hearts of everyone and everyone could attain liberation. So, because they desired for the benefit of everyone, they desired that Krishna should come and perform pastimes here and attract everyone by his beautiful pastimes. Everyone should nurture devotional service in their heart, and someday everyone should be benefited and get liberated and enter the eternal pastimes of Krishna because their desires were so pure. That is the desire and that is the benediction they actually asked from Brahma. Because of that, Yashoda received this great fortune of she seeing the childhood pastimes of Krishna, which is so rare. The sweetness of the childhood pastimes of Krishna is unparalleled. You cannot see any form of the Lord. No incarnation ever has exhibited such sweetness and pastimes. And the chief personality who witnessed all these pastimes and she was a recipient of this feelings of ecstasy and anxiety and going through so many different aspects of Vatsalya Rasa with Krishna. So this is the great personality who had performed not just austerities, but she performed proper sadhana bhakti, desiring for prema bhakti, desiring for the well-being and the liberation of all the other devotees. So that is the reason why Mother Yashoda attained such a great status. And of course, Drona and Dara, they merged into the original Nanda and Yashoda from the spiritual world to witness the pastimes of Krishna. So Shukadev Goswami, he explains the intentions of Yashoda, the wonderful qualities of Yashoda, and how Yashoda finally came to witness these beautiful pastimes of Krishna in Leela. So we'll stop here. These were very beautiful pastimes from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Some of them were from Gopal Champu and some others from Nectar of Devotion and other commentaries of our acharyas. So I know I've not done any justice because what is Yashoda Leela without touching on Damodar Leela, right? We didn't even touch on Damodar Leela. Damodar Leela itself is a full class, and Yashoda is a very, 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 very colorful character in Damodar Leela. So maybe sometime just with Yashoda and Damodar, yeah. But these are the other pastimes. Thank you for this opportunity. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mathaji. Thank you so much for such a truly amazing class. I think this is the first time I've ever heard such an amazing class summary of the amazing glories of Mother Yashoda. It truly felt like we were there in Vrindavan, seeing these pastimes through the eyes of Mother Yashoda. So thank you so much for such a beautiful class, Mathaji. Would you have time for some questions right now?
Yeah, I'll try.
All right. Dear devotees, if you would like to ask any questions or have any comments, please raise your hand. We'll give you an opportunity. I see Adigadada Prabhu on, Prabhu. If you want to say a few words, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, dear Karthik Prabhu. Thank you so much. Thank you very much, dear Preethi VIlasini Mathaji, for such a sweet class on the glories of Yashoda Maiya. And you spoke from Srimad Bhagavatam, from Gopal Champu, about the very sweet relationship between Lord Damodar and Mother Yashoda. And it was so relishable. As Karthik Prabhu said, we could actually visualize Mother Yashoda talking to her elder gopi friends about Krishna's naughty pranks, and also the sweet interactions between Lord Krishna and Mother Yashoda. Thank you so much. You spoke with such love and such beautiful descriptions. We could actually visualize everything. So thank you so much. We are very grateful to you, and we hope and pray that you can speak at ISKCON Atlanta more and more. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you for the wonderful opportunity to be a part of this wonderful congregation, which is very, very close to my heart. And thank you, Prabhu, for your presence. Your presence has made everything auspicious. Thank you.
Jai. Thank you so much, Mathaji. And you mentioned, that, you didn't even touch on the Damodar Leela, but this class was such a perfect approach to the final day of this month of Kartik. So we can go in on that day and hear that class, hopefully from you as well. So thank you so much, Mathaji. Dear devotees, if there's anyone who would like to ask Mathaji a question right now, please raise your hand on Zoom. We'll give you an opportunity to unmute and you can ask the question. I think we have Vrinda Gopika Mathaji who's unmuted herself. Mathaji, if you'd like to go ahead.
Hare Krishna, dear Preethi, VIlasini Gopi, Koti Koti Dandat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Yasoda Maiya ki jai, Gopa ki jai, Shri Damodar Mant ki jai. Mataji, we can visualize all the Leela not qualified to enter in Shri Vrindavan Dham, but one by one, so sweet Leela, Mataji, like H.S. Radhanath Maharaj is given a class. That much potency, H.H. Pataka Maharaj is given class. That much potency. So sweetly, you totally involved in that Leela, Mataji. So you take us in a dham. Hari Hari, Gauranga, Ananta Koti Dandat Pranam to dear respected H. Preethi VIlasini Gopi. Please give your assistant regularly. Hari Hari, Gauranga.
Thank you, dear respected Vrinda Gopika Mataji. Always a pleasure to hear from you in all the classes. Thank you, Mataji.
Hari Bol. Mataji, we have a question that has come from online. Mother Yashoda's eternal position is as Krishna's mother, but we also consider her a great devotee. Is she just a special soul who has performed pious activities, or is her eternal position just as Mother Yashoda?
Yeah, so when Drona and Dara performed, they got the boon from Brahma. The portions of Drona and Dara, they merged into the original Nanda and Yashoda when they descended. That's how Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur explains how they entered this Leela. So yes, they are eternally the mother and father, but for Bhaumya Leela, Drona and Dara also got to witness. So that's how we understand this.
So I'd just like to ask a personal continuation question on that. In the different yugas and different leelas, we see Krishna appear in his different forms. For example, as Vamana, he has a set of parents, a mother and father. Would that be considered Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj as well? Or would it be different personalities?
So Prishni and Sutapa, and then Devaki and Vasudeva, and I think it was for Vamanadev, So there were 3 times these parents, they appeared over and over. So Devaki, Vasudeva, Prishni, Sutapa, and I think it is a mother Aditi and Kashyapa. So these were the 3 different incarnations who appeared as the mother and father of Krishna in these different incarnations. So it's generally a couple who appears along with the original. Like for example, Devaki and Vasudeva are also present in the spiritual world, in the spiritual realm of Dwaraka. And when you read the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, and you get an opportunity to hear about how the spiritual world is like, you would see all these personalities coming from the spiritual world. But there are others who have also performed austerities to witness the Leela. So at that time, these personalities, they merge with the originals and then they enjoy these pastimes. So that's how it is.
Thank you so much, Mataji. We have a question from Anshuta. You may unmute yourself, Mataji, and ask your question.
Hare Krishna Mataji, actually I love your classes. So I never honestly my favorite is like the person I love in Krishna pastimes is Mother Yashoda personally. So I was actually asking my mom like a couple months ago.
I think they mistakenly logged off. We'll see if they log back on in a second. While we wait for that, Mataji, just another question for myself. Sometimes, we may approach the Lord in our different moods. As you mentioned, this mood of motherhood and parental love for Krishna is there. And then sometimes we may have the mood of a friend. So it's for me personally, it's kind of rare to see devotees approach the Lord in this parental mood. But how can that be developed, and how is it suggested to approach Krishna in this way on a regular basis?
So we are all sadhakas. We are performing sadhana bhakti. So as our sadhana matures, we develop spontaneous devotional souls. It's a long journey, but eventually, when Raganuga Bhakti is, when you're able to do Raganuga Bhakti, spontaneous devotional service is manifested. At that time, we would be able to follow in the footsteps of one of the Nityasiddhas, like Mother Yashoda. So if that is awakened in our hearts, then there is a possibility. Like when I started off with this particular purpose from Srila Prabhupada. That Prabhupada tells us that a sadhaka who's aspiring, here we go, I can read the purport itself. And Srila Prabhupada states in the purport, anyone who desires to be Krishna conscious in motherly affection or parental affection should contemplate on the bodily features of Mother Yashoda. So this is what he says. You should hear about Mother Yashoda. You should contemplate about on her activities and her bodily features. So as we progress, this doesn't happen artificially. It's not recommended that we start doing it in an immature state. But as we progress in devotional service, Raganuga Bhakti spontaneously manifests. At that time, each one of us, we have a particular inclination. So depending on the inclination, if Vatsalya Rasa is more prominent, then to cultivate our devotion in that sense, we can read and meditate upon the glories of Mother Yashoda, and then our sentiment actually develops. So that's how it is usually done. And yes, see, I think everyone is different. Like your question was, it's not so common. Vatsalya Rasa may not be so common. Sakhya Rasa may be common because that is currently how you feel today, right? It's your mood as of today. So you're in this sort of a body, in this condition where you just want to play with, you think it's fun only if you play with Krishna. But there are different people with different emotions, with different constitutional positions that is awakened at a much later stage. And when their constitutional position is awakened, they will realize their relationship with Krishna. So just like how we have many relationships, right? So even Krishna has many relationships, and many jivas are entitled to have that relationship with Krishna.
Thank you for such an amazing answer, Mataji. Perfectly explained. Thank you so much. And I see we have Anshuta Mataji back. Mataji, if you'd like to unmute yourself, continue asking your question before you get logged off.
Sorry, actually, like I was just saying that, I personally, like Mother Yashoda is like really my personal favorite character in the Krishna pastimes. So like I actually did not know this much about Mother Yashoda. Like I was asking my mom about like Mother Yashoda's like life, like past life before she her past life, like before she actually had Krishna like as her child. But like so thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Anshu. It's so nice to have you on the call. Thank you so much. You're a big inspiration for many of the youth. So thank you for coming on this call.
Thank you, Mataji. It was actually my mom who sent me this link. So I was like, actually my mom was like, Preethi VIlasini Mataji was giving the class. I was like, oh really? So yeah, thank you, Mataji.
Krishna heard your desire, Mataji. Not my Anshu.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mathaji. If there's anyone else who'd like to ask a question, now's your chance. You may raise your hand. Okay. Thank you so much, Mathaji. I think we'll end our question and answer session there. Once again, thank you so much for such a truly amazing class and doing a great justice to the glories of Mother Yashoda. It's always an honor and pleasure to have you on this platform, and we really look forward to having you speak again, and hopefully having you speak in person as well. So we hope we can make that happen one day very soon too.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mathaji. All right, dear devotees, we're going to be moving on to the next part of our program. We just have a few announcements that we need to make. As we continue the series on the great devotees of the Lord, we have so many personalities to cover, and the order in which it happens is truly just going to be random. So coming up next week, we have Kunti Devi, and that will be on next week, Wednesday. Please note the change. Since Kartik month is ending this Thursday, we'll be reverting back to our Wednesday schedule, Wednesday at 7 p.m. And the date for next week will be November 24th, and that will be on Kunti Devi. So please join us for the third part of this series. And also, as I mentioned, we have the last day of the month of Kartik coming up this Thursday, November 18th. We'll be having an in-person program at our temple here at ISKCON of Atlanta, and the program will begin at 6 p.m. We're very honored to have His Grace Amarendra Prabhu, who will be addressing us on this day. Also, we have our in-person Sunday program every Sunday, the next one coming up on November 21st. The program will begin at 3:45 p.m. EST, and as you can see on screen, here's the address for our temple, so please do join us. And also, we have our daily programs, some of which coming to an end with the end of the month of Kartik. Our virtual morning program will continue, from what I know, so you can join the virtual morning program between 3:30 a.m. to 7 a.m., which includes japa, recitation, etc., and it's a wonderful way to start your day. Our Venu Gita series with Amarendra Prabhu, who has amazingly spoken on this one topic every single day during this month of Kartik. And it's coming to a close this Thursday, so you definitely want to catch the end, especially during the auspicious time of Bhishma Panchak. It is the perfect way to end off this auspicious month. And you can also go onto our YouTube pages and onto our Facebook page to catch all the parts from part 1 all the way to the end. So yes, join the final parts of your Venu Gita with Amarendra Prabhu daily from tomorrow up till Thursday. And also for those in Atlanta, if you'd like to join us at temple for daily Damodar Astikam and lamp offerings, that will be from 6:30 p.m. onwards. And yes, dear devotees, we have all of our social media content and media content in general. To keep track of it all, we have a Linktree page, the link of which you can see on screen right now, where you can easily access with one link our website, our Facebook page, our Instagram page, our YouTube page, and links to our WhatsApp groups to receive daily updates and also daily darshan. And finally, we'd like to end today's program with a request for prayers. As we all know, ISKCON Bangladesh has experienced some difficulties of social upheaval. We request prayers for them. We request prayers for His Holiness Jayapataka Swami, His Holiness Bhakti Chaitanya Swami, Her Grace Govardhan Leela Mataji, Her Grace Revati Mataji and her family, the doctors who have helped fight COVID-19, and those who we have not been able to mention or have forgotten to mention. So please maybe chant the Mahamantra 3 times in a prayerful mood for the benefit of those mentioned and for all those we have forgotten to mention as well. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you, dear devotees, and thank you once again to Preethi VIlasini Mathaji for such a wonderful class today, and we look forward to having her back. And thanks you to each and every one of you for supporting our virtual programs and in-person programs. And thank you for joining us once again on our Midweek program. We'll now take your leave and end today's program, and we look forward to seeing you for the last day of Kartik this Thursday, our Sunday program, and the next part in this series.